That's why it was so weird that Eddie Van Halen, he just considered himself a
Yeah.
musician. I met him. He was right in front of my face talking to me. I could smell his breath. And he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And he gives me a fist bump. He was laughing. I'm like, he's just a normal dude, but he's my superhero, you know?
Hey folks, taking a quick pause on the usual deep dive video here, as I had the chance to sit down with Johnny Beane, the guy behind countless Van Halen breakdown videos, and one of the hardest working guitar historians online. We talked all things Van Halen, his story with music and artist run ins, Green Day's surprising connection to Van Halen, and a whole lot more. I've linked all of Johnny's stuff down below, so definitely check him out when you get a chance. Hope you enjoy the chat. For anyone watching who's somehow not already familiar, we're here with Johnny Beane, the legend who's been doing countless guitar and gear reviews and big Van Halen breakdowns for quite a while here. So, Johnny, in addition to tons of great guitar content in general, you might be the hardest working Van Halen archivist on the internet these days. Truly one of the original pioneers. So, between the daily live streams, gear demos, and decoding Van Halen's every single move, do you actually sleep?
Yeah, I do. I didn't I used to hate sleeping. Two things I used to hate to do was sleeping and eating. I didn't like to do either, but now, on Twitch you can do sleep streams and people like to watch you eat. So I do those as well. But no, I do definitely. But I will say being I guess it's called a content creator, making videos, doing live, streams, all that. You really have to, I guess what they say is, take time for yourself every once in a while, take a break. And, but for me, after 10 minutes, I want to make another video. It
I
doesn't,
hear that.
it's just so much fun.
I've definitely gotten the bug. I'm like thinking of what I can make, and then the second it goes out, I'm like, all right, I want to start the next one. Where can
Hmm.
where can we go? You
Hmm.
also mentioned your studio is always on, kind of what you were just saying. So basically, a guitar center with 7-Eleven hours, it seems. Can we take a quick peek at your current setup and studio?
Sure,
Brief walkthrough.
sort of. I've got walls of pedals, as you can see, different ones. I've got guitars over there. It kind of looks like a pawn shop around here because there's like, let's see, I've got like different amplifiers, like a PA, got amps. This is actually my main amp down here. It's a Fender 212.
Okay.
That's the main one I use for gigs. Used to use the PV 5150 years ago. Uh, let's see what else. I got a workbench so I can work on guitars. Got more guitars over there. More amps. Actually, there's tons of amps down here. There's a Black Star. There's a Boss. Think you're getting to Bay Area Rich, actually. He huge supporter of what I do.
Is that a
And
Black Star HT5? I have the same one sitting right here. I think it's an HT5. It is such an underrated bedroom jammer. It's great when I just don't want to, go into my whole rig. If I just want to sit watch TV somewhere, it's perfect for that.
it says stereo on it. It has like stereo delays, or they kind of, even though it's like one speaker, maybe there's a couple, maybe there's a smaller speaker in there. You can hear like a stereo-ish sound when you use the delay in the chorus. I actually played a gig with that amp, and it was
Yeah,
fine.
not everyone needs the 100 watt. Like you want that cranked amp sound, and you can go low wattage to do so.
Yeah, it's like what I always say on my show is when it comes to gear, players on, different levels of players on the internet, when it really comes down to it, it's really about the gig or the recording session or whatever it is. I mean, these are just tools. Like there'll never be a time, or there never has been a time where it's like, oh, I have this guitar and this amp and I'm good no matter what. That's never the case because you
Yeah,
never know what to expect.
absolutely. More
You know.
excuses to buy some more gear. Always a N
Well,
plus one.
yeah.
Looking into guitars and gear a bit more, I guess on that note, what would you call your favorite and likely underrated sleeper rig or setup right now? Could be guitar, amp, pedal, FX chain, whole thing, single piece. Anything come to mind there?
The truth is, I play acoustic most of the time, either acoustic guitar. I was playing an acoustic sitting on the couch earlier today, and I wrote something. The thing is, every time I pick up a guitar, I write something, and it just happens. It's kind of a nice problem to have, and so, but the main problem is I always have to have something to record it because I don't want to forget whatever it was. Like I've already forgotten whatever it was I wrote 2 hours ago. I'm gonna have to go back and try to figure it out. Actually, I do play just regular electric, not even plugged in most of the time. But as far as like a cool little amp, I mean, we were talking about that Black Star. That thing is cool. The Boss Katana. I've got a Boss Katana. Oh, you can't see it on my workbench. I do this every day, but I never use Zoom.
Well,
So
yeah. So yeah, this is the budget interview, I guess. Do you have any hot takes? Do you feel that any certain gear, and I'll put you in the hot seat here. What gear do you feel is sometimes overhyped or something that you might not have clicked with, do you think?
I actually used to sell guitars to like Green Day and
Wow.
a lot of different bands would, well, they're from here. I'm from Bay Area, California. So in the shop, we used to say that guitars, like a lot of musicians, they look at them as just like fashion statements, as like accessories, or like, the guitar has to match the outfit. The guitar has to have the certain sound.
Yeah, of
So the
course.
guitar can look like a total piece of garbage, but if it has that tone, it can be impossible to play. Like it can be killing your fingers and stuff. But if it has just that certain sound and that works for the track, works for the gig, then then I'll use that, over the shiny new, something or other. Or like I'll play a guitar where the action can be like this. Like I don't care. I've been playing guitar uh since I started in 1987, but I didn't really get serious. Like I started joining bands in late 90s is I think when that really
Okay.
really started.
What was your early setup like then?
I wanted to be Eddie Van Halen. And so my first guitar was it was called a Squire #1 Bullet.
Okay, bullets,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's
Those.
called a Bullet. So it's like a Strat, but it's like thinner. I mean, Strats sound thin anyway, right? But no, the
Yeah.
body was like it's like smaller. I have it, but it's in this. I've got this thing that I call the guitar jail. It's like two or three guitar stands all like smashed together. Look at
Oh
this. There's
man.
like guitars on top. There's guitars on the bottom, and then on the other side of those guitars on the bottom are more guitars in there, and that guitar is in there. It's like a double guitar stand, and then I have a regular guitar stand behind it. So there's guitars in there. But anyway, that was my first guitar, and I know kind of the way we kind of met uh, was my first guitar was that Squire #1 Bullet Strat, a Sunburst guitar,
Yeah.
and I picked that one because it looked like the one that Michael J. Fox played in the movie Light of Day. It looked like an old Strat. So that's why I picked that guitar. Okay. Michael J. Fox got me into the guitar because of Back to the Future, because of that riff that you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason I even do any of this. So, but because of that riff, that's Eddie Van Halen. That's really how I discovered Van Halen. So I went from that #1 Bullet Strat to Kramer guitars. My first
Love
real
it.
guitar is this. It's a Kramer Focus 1000. Just over the years, it's been changed a billion times, and
I
so
love it.
that's an FU tone humbucker, EVH Floyd, and then it has a Kramer Pacer Series neck
Yep.
from the 80s. The
Wow.
beak, the chicken hawk, as Unkert calls it. And this is what I was rocking when I wanted to be Van Halen. So it was this into a crate amplifier, which I still have, which actually does have a sound.
It's
And
got that
then
special
eventually,
magic.
yeah. I was actually going to make a video on it at some point. I have to be reminded. Let me ask my intern, Janice, if you're watching this, send me an X reminding me to make a video on the crate amplifier. So anyway, so I graduated from that to a PV Stereo Chorus 212, which was way loud. And then I graduated from that to the 5150 half stack right
Beautiful.
here. And then from there, went to the 212 Fender DeVille. I went from no Floyd Rose to a Floyd Rose to no Floyd Rose
Yeah,
to a VegaTrem.
I love
In
it.
my
I need to grab
to,
one of those.
in my opinion, the VegaTrem is the greatest tremolo ever. I love it.
That's next on my Christmas list for sure. What's currently sitting at the top of your reverb grail list?
I don't even have a reverb account.
So what do you do?
I I think I I don't know. I just truthfully
I
I
mean, I don't want to. It's a very slippery slope. I don't want to because once you go down, it is a deep, deep, dark rabbit hole.
you can go back on my YouTube channel 10 years and I've got all these live streams talking this stuff and I'm always like, hey, I'll use what I have. I can make whatever that is work. I have a workbench now, and so I'm able to work on guitars. And I don't know what that is. That's some weird pumpkin thing. Somebody gave me that. Like I said, I love all different types of stuff. I'm huge into strats. The Strat is probably my number one guitar. Some sort of a Strat. These days I'll take three single coils over a humbucker. But at a certain point, I realized, oh, there's only one Eddie, and so I kind of went the total opposite direction and stopped using the Floyds, started using single coil pickups. Edward always said that, he didn't use pedals,
Hmm.
at least in the beginning, he didn't use them because he couldn't
Yeah.
afford them. His amp does all the work, which I agree. I agree on that. I love pedals. So you can see I got tons of pedals. I really got into this guy named Andy Summers. And the classic Police tone is chorus, reverb, flanger, delays. And so I went from Eddie Van Halen, jumped into the Andy Summers. I guess my style is kind of a combination of both. So it's kind of, that's what people tell me anyway. They say, oh, yeah, I can kind of hear this and hear that. The last thing I want to be is some Eddie Van Halen clone. I
Yeah.
that's just I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but for years on my shows, I was embarrassed to admit how much of a Van Halen freak I was. Like I kind of let other people around me that were on my shows talk about that stuff, and but if they weren't right about something, because I know my Van Halen, I grew up on Van Halen, I know it, and so like if like that riff that you were talking about, I knew exactly what that was. I did a video. I
Yep.
think we figured out it was exactly 10 years ago that I did
Yeah.
like a similar type of thing.
You actually did it 10 years ago, and that would, I believe, make it the exact Back to the Future date that was on the actual time machine. It was 2015, October 21st.
That's probably why I did it.
Yeah.
10 years ago was really when I started doing like the shows that I do, the live stuff at least. Love gear. I do love experimenting with sounds and whatever the latest stuff is. I go to the NAMM show, every year and I see all the new stuff. And I mean, I'm not always on top of the latest gear. Like I'm not that into it where it's like, oh, I gotta know about this. I gotta know about the 100th overdrive pedal there is.
Yeah.
I don't have to know about it, but said if people start telling me about the stuff and oh, you gotta check this out, or if a
Yeah.
company if they send it, and I check it out and do a video or whatever, I'll check it out and use it.
There's so much cool stuff coming out every single year. You can't possibly keep up with every little thing. Speaking of that NAMM shirt, if you could go to NAMM with any two people, alive or past, who would they be?
A good friend of mine used to go with Eddie Van Halen.
Oh,
Actually, two good friends of mine used to go with that. What am I talking about? So I've heard the stories. I mean, Van Halen would be a good one.
obviously.
Although from the stuff I've heard, he didn't want to be there. So he didn't like going. He didn't like crowds. He didn't like
Yeah.
being mods like that.
That is
But
very true.
that riff that you talked
Yeah,
about, that's kind of where that came from, was NAMM show. And for those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about, I called it the Darth Vader Van Halen riff. VHND called it the out the window riff.
right.
I don't think there even is like an actual, like, we don't know what the actual title of it is,
Yeah,
whatever the
no one
working
knows.
title is. But that riff and stuff similar to that, they used to play at the Kramer booth back in the 80s when Van Halen was their endorsee.
Wow.
And like when they were demoing the Kramer Ripley guitars, which is a stereo guitar, which I have one. It's Where is it? It's in the guitar jail, actually. It's buried.
It's in the fourth rack in the back.
And it's actually signed by Gary Kramer himself, Mr. Kramer.
Oh man.
I went to his the opening of his. He had like a lounge. I took the guitar with me and he signed it, and but anyway, at the Kramer booth, they would play, like, they would have a tape of Van Halen just like doing all that stuff, the dive bombs, the horse sounds, the elephant sounds, similar to like that out the window
Yeah,
song. I mean, that's really what that is.
it makes
So
sense. It's random kind of noodling, compilations of little things like that. That's probably
yeah.
what's sitting in the vault, not like, full polished Van Halen tracks that we haven't heard. It's probably a lot of Eddie
Mm,
noodling.
yeah, I would think so. It'd be a lot of jamming with Edward, Alex, Michael, Wolfgang, and who knows whoever else. Although they used to say, Edward used to say, "Oh, we got, tons of albums in the vault." Nobody knows what's in there. So as far as going to NAMM show, Van Halen would be cool, and then so I don't know. I mean, this will be like my 13th year going.
Oh, that's so cool. That's the dream for
Um,
sure.
NAMM, actually, they invite me now as media, so I get to go. It's work. Like, I go and I do what I do. I do go to, parties afterwards here and there, but it's not like I'm partying all night, going crazy, smashing TV sets. It's not like in the 80s. Um, I actually do kind of go with this guy named Steve Rosen, who's a writer, and he's one of my friends. He's one of the guys who used to go with Van Halen back in the 80s. I would say I would go with Steve Rosen, but I already do. Like, I see
You
him there
already
all the time.
you're already living the dream, man. That's
So
awesome.
it's pretty.
So you've carved your own identity in terms of guitar playing. Started off with Eddie stuff, studied him closely, and you've ultimately taken that knowledge and gone to another place with it and made it your own.
Oh yeah,
Um,
def, definitely. Yeah, have to. No matter who your influence is. Do I listen to Van Halen all day long? No. I listen to like the stuff, like the video that you did. The stuff that nobody knows about, the outtake stuff, the instrumental stuff. That's the stuff that I listen to. I have all that.
maybe here's some theories that you have on certain things. If we can jump back into that Van Halen deep
Oh,
territory.
sure.
Let's start with Frankie. We all know he did a ton of self pickup winding and waxing and whatnot. But what's your theory there on the primary pickup, like Gibson PAF, JB, Super Distortion, Duncan Custom, Custom Custom? A lot of articles and analyses out there that are kind of pointing in multiple directions. What's your thought there?
Well, I mean, the original pickup was taken from, I think it's from a 335
Yeah, the PAF, right?
Gibson.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he changed all that stuff around so many times. I mean, there was every year, every tour, Van Halen, they call it the classic six pack, the Roth years. Every tour, that guitar had a different pickup in it, had a different neck on it. He would dip them in paraffin wax,
Yeah,
which is normal now. Like, I went to Fender. I got a tour of EVH Fender, like everything,
that's
years and years and years ago. So I got to see everything there.
and then he put
And
in the Alnicode 2 magnet into it. I think he was messing with that a bit too. Put one of those in there to give it a bit of a warmer, spongier feel. Who
I don't
knows?
know. I haven't read all this stuff in years. Like I said, my cousin Jazz, he did those interviews. Like that first cover story, guitar player April 80, and it's Van Halen on the cover with the bumblebee. My cousin's the guy that did that interview.
Wow.
And that's the interview that has all that early info in it, where Van Halen talks about how he would dip the pickups, went from Frankenstein, of course, to well, from there to Charvel, Bumblebee, from there to back to the Frankenstein, cat guitar for a minute, to Kramer, where my favorite guitar ever is that 5150 Kramer guitar.
Yeah,
That's
that's
to
such a
me,
nice
that's the
one, man.
coolest. I have a balloon version. This was sent in. This was sent in from, I think it was Chris King sent this in. The Hoffer teacher and the 5150 were done at the same time.
Same time. Okay.
There was three guitars that were done at the same time: the 5150, the Hotford teacher, and the 1984.
Okay.
So they were like the three main guitars on the 84 tour.
How about that Univox Echo unit? It's hardly something that's ever talked about. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think it really helped shape Eddie's sort of slapback delay, or do you think it was more of a minor supplement next to the Echoplex?
Think the Univox is the first one that he used. I think that was the one that was in the
In
bomb.
the bomb. Yep.
I think it was a very important piece to his early sound, because if you watch, when he would do Eruption,
Hmm.
and at the end he takes the guitar. If you ever see, like, there's Super 8 footage of it, he'll take the guitar, he'll take it off, and he'll put it in front of the speaker, and you'll see him twisting the knob of the Univox within the bomb.
That's
You'll
how he
see
gets
him like,
that sound. Okay.
oh yeah, that, like,
Uh,
the ending where it's slow, where the repeat slows down. That's how you do that, is you twist it. Like, you can do that now with delay pedals. There's like the carbon copy is a good example. This,
Absolutely.
there's this, and actually, Dunlop does make an Echoplex pedal, which is
Yep.
amazing too. I have one of those because I use that one all the time. But yeah, the way you're getting those sounds is you're turning, like, like, I think it's this one, where you're just turning this and you slow it so it slows down, and then you can speed it up. There's a really nice delay unit. I had one years ago. It's a Roland. The Roland, I want to say Space Echo. Is that a Roland Space Echo? So, like, the Pretty Woman chorus effect,
Yep.
the little guitars chorus effect, it was that Roland.
I was looking into a few other players. Like I know Richie Blackmore, and then guys like Ronnie Latecro from TNT had some older version of the Space Echo. They would use it not just for the echo effect. They would use it to kind of thicken up the mids a bit. Let's talk that JBL speaker rumor. What do you think his cab setup was like? There's always some hearsay out there about, he's got his regular cab. I think it was maybe greenbacks, and then people were saying no, the JBL. He also had a JBL next to it, and that's how he got the exact sound. It is super micro level detail stuff.
That I'm not really sure about. Although this is pretty cool. This is a Marshall cabinet right here,
Uh-huh.
the 412 cab. The guy that gave me this told me that the speakers in there were originally made for Van Halen.
What?
And yeah, down in like LA. And Van Halen, like, never picked them up, or they never got to
Oh my
him.
God.
But I got to get the 5150 going. It needs new
Yeah.
tubes and stuff.
Okay.
But this is all set up though. I have two 412 cabs sitting here, and so I could get pretty loud right now if I wanted. So, and it was just like it was. I'm amazed this room is even still here.
I don't know how your hearing is still intact after blasting that thing, man.
Oh, my
Oh
my
man.
hearing is, truthfully, yeah, my I can hear. My hearing's fine, but I do have severe tinnitus.
Ah,
Like, right here, like like it sounds like there's a fluorescent light and mosquitoes just like swarming on this side of my head.
Yeah,
What happened was I was jamming with this band. This was back in 2010, I think. I was jamming with this band and I was wearing earplugs at the time. Louder and louder and louder. And I'm sure you know, you play. So you start to get to where you start getting dizzy, like it's so loud,
yes,
you know?
I've been there. Uh-huh.
What happened was this other guitar player was standing, his amp was like over here. He goes and he hits this wah pedal with his guitar.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a freaking ice pick right in my ear. And I was wearing earplugs when this happened. I walked out of that studio and it was like a tornado. It was like I was in a tornado, just like shh. And 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 the wind sounds went away. The ringing never did. Like it's still here now, all these years later. It never stops.
Wow. The trials
So
of being a guitarist playing live, man. Yeah.
so I always tell people, be very, very careful with your hearing. I would crank this for hours and hours and hours with a drummer, you know, walk out of there and you're like, man, that must have been a great rehearsal because I can't hear.
Yeah. Went well when you can't hear. Yeah.
But it's funny because now that one of the bands that I play in, now the rehearsals we do are in their living room, and I just take like that and I play,
Yeah.
and it's fine. It's fine, you
I
know.
know another big player, Cameron Cooper, swears by that
I know
Yamaha. And
Cameron.
yeah,
Yeah.
he brings that and then connects it up to whatever however big of a speaker he needs it. That's his head, his primary head apparently.
Oh yeah, Cameron. He's been on my show a couple times over the years.
Oh, awesome guy. I've been
Years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
On to your favorite Van Halen guitar, 5150. Let's talk about the neckwear for a second. There's
Oh
this
yeah.
theory that the aging was done with shoe polish to fake vintage wear. But then there's Ben Cote, another huge EVH guy, was just telling me he heard it was a result of distressing from grinding that metal pick against it. Do you have any theories there?
If you go back 10 years on my channel, I used to have a guy on my show. His name was Dave Nesdall. And he used to say, what I heard from him, that originally the neck had finish on it, and Edward would take a, a little blade and he would scrape the finish off.
Uh,
And then, so of course, when you scrape that off, the part that's where there's no finish, that's the part that gets dirty.
yep.
Times it's like dirty, clean,
Uh-huh.
dirty, clean. That's what you're talking about, right? Dirty, clean. I don't know if that's correct. I can actually find out. I can actually find out the actual what actually happened to it, but there's all different stuff. I got a good friend. Actually, he was just on my. He used to be on my show back when Nesdall was on. His name's Rob Johnson. I had him on
Yeah.
actually just last week. He came back on. We all kind of know the same stuff, but there's so much stuff out there. And what is the real truth of a lot of the stuff? Nobody real unless you were there,
Yeah.
right?
Had to be there.
Unless you were there. I mean,
So there's been this modern, almost like cult level resurgence of 80s shred online, especially some Van Halen tone chasing. Do you think there's a reason why people are shifting so heavily back towards it right now? Maybe the information that's coming out, availability, easy to access stuff.
it's a few different things. It's well, the internet. Something that I believe is whatever there is, everything is cool now. Like back when I
Yeah.
was growing up in the 90s, oh, the 80s, a guitar like this in the 90s, nobody wanted. You couldn't give this stuff away in the Kramer guitars, dudes. It back like I told you, I used to sell guitars to Green Day. Billy Joe, actually huge Van Halen fan. He
Really?
actually loved Van Halen. Oh yeah, nobody knows that. He actually his guitar, the one on the cover of Dookie, it was a blue. It was actually a Fernandez. A good friend of mine was his guitar teacher, actually. Yeah, my friend George sold him that guitar. But Green Day guitar fanatics who build that guitar, they call it a Frankenstein. Actually,
No
they
way.
actually call it. Yeah, 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 yeah. So there's Green Day guys that build those guitars, like there's Van Halen guys that build these guitars.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Oh,
it's
same
it's
thing with
all the
Billy
same.
Joe. Huh.
Dude, it's so funny because years ago, I dropped a comment on some video on YouTube, and apparently it got a lot of heat because I had said, "Oh yeah, that guitar, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, my friend, sold him that guitar and used to give him lessons." And dude, it was so bizarre because this video apparently like kind of went viral in the Green Day community, and I had thousands of people coming after me for saying that,
No way.
saying, "Oh,
What?
you're making that up, f blah 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 blah." Dude,
You
to
were
get that
there.
attention now, I would love for people to come after me like that again now because that was back before I was doing this, right? So, but it was pretty cool because yeah, I wish I could find that video. But what happened was eventually somebody else made a video about that guitar, and I dropped the same kind of comment. But in that video, they actually said, "Oh yeah," they actually said like what I had said in that video. And then the guy, my friend, actually commented saying, "Oh hey Johnny." So it's like there was proof that I was telling the
Pitchforks
truth,
and
and there he
praise.
is. There's yeah. So it was pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know what the question was, but
No,
but
this perfect
it's all
tangent. I mean,
related.
it
It's
is
all related.
under the
It's
same umbrella.
all
So did you ever like catch up with Billy Joe, I guess, in the community with that guitar shop and everything? You said
oh
you
yeah.
that's too cool.
I used to see him. I used to see him. I used to see Mike Dirnt. Used to see
Wow.
Trey Cool. See Billy. But he used to come in and he'd be playing Rolling Stones licks. And I would listen to him. And this is before the internet. This is before all this stuff, right? This was actually when they were recording a record called Nimrod.
Yeah.
And so it was right after this when they had a song come out called Time of Your Life, which was the acoustic song.
I'm a big fan. I actually saw them
Oh,
live
okay,
here not too
cool.
long ago. Yeah.
So you know this stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
cool, cool, cool.
Diehard fan. Yeah.
Let's do a Green Day show, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. Shift gears a bit.
It's like I tell you, man, all this shit's related, man. I don't know if I can swear in a show, but that's the thing
You're good.
is people tell me they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Dude, I know exactly what I'm talking about with all this stuff. I've lived all this stuff. All this stuff's related. Rock and roll, to me, everything is rock and roll. Rap music, country, whatever it is, it's all rock and roll. If it's cool, it rocks, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Green Day, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but that's just kind of how I am
I love it.
because
This is gold.
actually, if you're a big Green Day fan, you
Yep.
know Woodstock '94 when
Uh-huh.
they played in New York, and there's a big mud fight. Mike Dirnt, that bass that he's playing, it's a Kramer bass, and he
Okay.
got that from the shop that I worked at, and that bass is now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You
Oh
can go to the
man.
Rock Hall in Cleveland. You could see this bass, and I was there when Mike got it. If you look at it, it has green knobs on it. I was standing right there when the boss, his name was Fat Dog, he opened up this drawer, took these two green knobs out, stuck them right on the bass. And see, it's all related, man. Ronnie, the bass player from the band Mammoth, is also a huge Green Day fan. And I told him I've met him. We were walking to Chipotle one day actually, and I was telling him this stuff too. And he was like, "No way," because he loves Green Day. He has replicas of all Mike Dirnt's Gibson grabber basses and all that. You're right. Van Halen and Green Day,
That's
it's all the
crazy. It's
same,
all
right?
the board with the
Yeah.
string.
So he took that bass. They played it for Woodstock '94. That mud fight happened. Apparently, a security guard tackles him, breaks the bass, and knocks like his teeth out. He brought it back in to get fixed, and he told us the story about getting tackled. Right? He
Classic
told
Green
us
Day.
that. Yeah, and I sold a guitar to Trey Cool one time at the shop, and there's a photo. You can probably find it, or you might know it. There's a photo of Green Day. I first saw it in Spin magazine. It's them in a bathtub, and there's a blue guitar. It looks like a square. That's an Echo. That's an old 60s Echo guitar. I remember
Cool.
writing his name on the receipt. He told me his real name. It's not Trey Cool. It was like some other blah, 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 the fourth or something. I remember that.
It's a government name.
Um,
I never
yeah.
would have thought of Trey Cool being into guitars, you know? That's
Oh, he
like
plays. Yeah, yeah, man. There, MTV in the '90s, they used to have this show called Live at the 10 Spot. I remember there was a segment where Trey is playing the guitar and singing, playing like Billy's
Wow.
Fernandez.
On that note, do you think that like guitar-driven rock, think Green Day era or even, glam 80s Ed stuff could ever come back as the music of the people again? Or is it kind of confined to stay as a niche passion?
I hate to say it, I don't think it'll ever be mainstream like it was. 'Cause now with the internet, everything is cool. Like there is no, that's what I was saying. In the 90s, you could get Kramer guitars for nothing at pawn shops because nobody wanted them, you know? Now everybody wants that stuff and
Yeah.
it's impossible to get the stuff. Anybody can make a record now on their phone. Anybody can have
Yeah.
a home studio and get something out there via the internet. It's who you know is what a lot of it is.
Connections. That's
I mean,
that's applicable to anything, really.
it's connection. It's mainly it's connections, and yeah, there is talent. I mean, because I hate to say it, but there is a lot of guitar players on YouTube that can't play. You know, I've been on YouTube since the beginning. I've seen it all, right? But it's so easy to get stuff out there now, but there's so much of it. It's just getting attention, getting the right attention, knowing the right people. That's what it that's, I was signed years ago. I used to live with this guy named Desmond Child, who was a hit songwriter. You Give Love a Bad Name, Living on a Prayer, Dude Looks Like a Lady,
Yeah,
Angel.
absolutely.
That's all Desmond Child songs. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was my manager at one point, and he used to tell me stories about working with Van Halen, working with Kiss. I used to let Ricky Martin into the house because he was working with Desmond on a track that would become "Livin' La Vida Loca." He was in this band called Menudo, and this was in Miami when I was working with them, and I remember coming back here to California and telling my sister, I'm like, there's this guy named Ricky Martin. You're about to see some serious stuff. And then that's when the Grammys happened and he did that and was the biggest thing. But no, as far as rock music, yeah, it'll be out there. Mammoth, Wolfgang,
Yep.
but it's amazing what he's doing. He's doing his own. Yeah, there's rock. But as far as the 80s glam type of stuff, will that ever be mainstream again? I mean, not like it was, right? But it's out there and everything's cool. There's a place for everything now. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a fan base for everything. And because of the internet, the world is so smaller now. I have a totally different way of thinking now when it comes to music business. Like I know the music business because I was this close to being like signed. Well, I was signed to Desmond's production company. We were in the process of being signed to Universal Music,
Wow.
which at the time that's the one that became the biggest thing ever. And then
Yeah.
the internet happened and just kind of, you know, music, you can't sell music anymore.
Yep.
Music now is basically free. If you make a record now, yeah, you can maybe sell some CDs out of your trunk, but who even buys CDs anymore?
Where's the best place for new listeners to jump into your music? Where can they find Johnny Beane and what you're about and your story?
Well, as far as my music, I do have stuff on iTunes. I do have stuff on Spotify. I haven't uploaded anything new as far as like the streaming stuff in a long time because right after I did that, that's when I really jumped into doing like kind of like this, like video
Yeah.
stuff. And I've just been doing the video, the live streaming thing ever since. Like I'm literally 10 years of doing live weekly shows. I do a YouTube live stream. It could be anything from a Van Halen related, I call it exclusively Van Halen. It could be that. I do something called Talking Guitars and Music News. It could be that. I usually do a show on Saturday nights, which I didn't do last night, but I do live streaming on Twitch where I do video gaming, I do IRL stuff where I go to Guitar Center and I walk around, I go to conventions. Now these days it's just a brand. I call it Johnny Bean TV is what I call it. So the best place to go, I guess, would be YouTube, and johnnybean.tv will take you there.
Well, guys, you heard the man.
Facebook, Facebook. I run one of the largest Van Halen groups on Facebook called Exclusively Van Halen. And there's nothing but fighting going on in there. And I got to put a stop to that, man. I get people message me all day long. Hey, this guy's, saying this about Sammy Hagar. Come on. That was 30 years ago, man.
Yeah. Let's have a friendly debate here. Come on, y'all. Any final words for the fans or advice for young players trying to keep the sound alive?
If you dig music, play it. Pick up an instrument. If it's the guitar, play it. Whatever that is. But like I was saying, learn as much as you can about all different genres of music, all different types of instruments. Don't just get into one thing and be like, oh, I'm going to be Eddie Van Halen. No, you're not. There was only one Eddie Van Halen. You can go out there and jump around and act like him, but you're not going to be him. You know, learn as much as you can about as many different things as you can, mix that up, and hopefully stick with it. You never know where you're going to go with it, and as long as you believe in what you're doing, you can do anything.
So honored that you could sit down with me and tell me some of your story, and I'd love to do it again sometime, man, and maybe more Green
Yeah,
Day
of course.
stuff. So I
Oh,
really appreciate it, dude.
let's do a Green Day show, man. Dude, yeah, this is what I love doing this. So anytime, man.
All right, bro. You
Definitely.
take it easy and have a good rest of the weekend.
All right, thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.